Hello, everyone, and welcome to Movie Mandates. I am Kelly.
And I am Andrew.
And this, no, I can't keep that up.
We're going to keep up that level of drama for the entire show.
And this is the show where my brother and I force each other to watch movies according to a monthly theme. And this month's theme is MAYday, MAYday, because we're in May. You get it? Okay, good. So I mandated that we watch Earthquake from 1974. But of course, before we get to that, it is only fair that my brother challenged me in this week's installment of Trivial Trivia.
Okay, so Earthquake,
Yes.
much like the rest of the myriad disaster films from the 1970s,
Yes.
one of the really fun thing about these is, particularly from a modern perspective, they have these enormous casts of actors that you recognize.
Oh
Now,
my gosh, yes.
For example, Earthquake has Charlton Heston, Ava Gardner, George Kennedy, Richard Roundtree, and even Walter Matthau is in there
Walter
as
Matthau.
an uncredited extra, just some drunk guy in a bar. I'm like, that's Walter Matthau. He doesn't have any dialogue. It's just Walter
He
Matthau.
says like
just,
two
there.
things, and they're just
Oh
random.
yeah,
Like
yeah. He's like, I need another drink.
yeah, he's like, who do you get a drink from? And I'm just like, at him, and I'm like, that sounds from Raphael, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Okay, please continue. We're
So
not to the movie yet.
the
This is
70s
trivia.
disaster films constantly cast with maybe not the absolute superstars of that day, but definitely working actors that everyone knew and loved and were possibly big stars of their day, like like Ava Gardner, Charlton Heston. They were a bit past their prime in 1974.
They were in their
50s, early 50s, I think. In 1974,
because they were born
yeah,
in the
yeah,
20s.
yeah, young. It would have been young 50s, I think.
So
They were
50s,
probably
okay.
born in the early 20s somewhere.
Yeah.
But still, for example, you've got Poseidon Adventure, Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Shelley Winters, Roddy McDowall. You've got Towering Inferno, Paul Newman, Steve McQueen, Faye Dunaway, Fred Astaire. Richard Chamberlain's in it.
Fred Astaire is in Towering Inferno?
Yeah. Hell, Dean Martin is in Airport.
Oh, geez.
So is George Kennedy. George Kennedy is actually in all of the Airport films.
As well. He like, when I saw him, I was like, hey, that's why you're in Naked. That's all I was like,
that also Leslie Nielsen and stuff.
Leslie Nielsen was a dramatic actor, was he not? Or was no, not Bridges, Lloyd, right? He was a dramatic actor.
Both.
And then they both were.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to remember which one it is, if it's Towering Inferno, because what the hell's his name? The football player who killed a person. OJ Simpson, thank you. Yeah, he's in the Naked Gun movies. I think he's also in like Towering Inferno or one of those 70s disaster films, if I'm remembering right.
Although he's not Terminator, because they did not think that he'd be believable as a murderer.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so today's trivial trivia question is, you, Kelly, are in charge of casting a new disaster movie.
I'm so excited.
Looking back on how they cast the disaster movies of the 70s, cast me 5 people for a modern day disaster movie.
Well, Idris, he'll be the one that lives. He's going to be the LL Cool J of my
I think I know who you said, but you broke up right when you said his name. Was it Idris Elba?
Yes.
That's funny, because I was going to
say anyone but him, because I know he's going to be your number one.
I was going to clarify that, we should probably stay away from, how the 70s movies didn't have the stars of the time. So today wouldn't be Tom Cruise,
but
it would probably be like Idris Elba or something. So
yes, so Idris would be like the Charlton Heston of it, and then I don't want Dominic. I want the other guy. Hold on,
Cooper.
Hold on.
Dominique Thorne?
Nope. I'm gonna kick myself, and I feel really bad that I can't remember his name. It's not Dominic Mahonigan. It's the one who plays Pippin, Billy Boyd.
Oh,
so we're gonna put Billy Boyd in
the
there.
other Hobbit. Okay.
Yes, he plays Pippin.
Right.
So we're gonna put Billy Boyd in there
Billy
because
Boyd?
he's gonna be that
Okay.
face that everyone's like, I know who that is.
Where have I
So-
seen him?
Exactly. And then it will make everyone feel safe because he has that face that makes everyone feel safe. So that's my number 2 person. And then if we have to put a lady in there,
I mean, if you have to.
I mean, if you got to put a gal in there, I want someone like Kathy Bates, but not Kathy Bates, who, oh gosh, who can I get? That's the feel that I want. I want the person like, how old is Sally Field at the moment? She really old.
60s?
60s? She could do. I like Sally. She's a goodie.
Sally Field? I think she's actually in one of the airport sequels.
Is she really?
I think so.
That's awesome. And so then
you can't have George Kennedy. He died back in 2015 or something like that, unfortunately.
So I would want to put in who is Lupita Nyong'o, because I would trust her to get me to safety. And then
I can't spell that.
And then I would put in most people will hate me for this, but I would like Timothée Chalamet to be in it, and he'll be the first casualty.
No, I think most people like that.
That I'm going to make him the first casualty?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is it going to be a psycho
like
Janet Leigh kind of thing where you think
it will be all
Timothy?
It will be all like, it'll be his brooding like chin on all the things, and like in the background will be like the explosions, or it'll be the floating head of him, and then like the Mona Lisa, a whole bunch of stuff going on behind him, and like, you know, he's maybe looking out, leading with that chin of his, like, oh yes, I've got this, and then he just, you know, he walks into the boat or the skyscraper or the lion's cage, wherever is happening, a natural disaster at a zoo. That's what I want, and I want him to be mauled by a tiger.
Okay, so
I have nothing against him personally.
Yeah, I don't know him.
I don't know him.
So that's Idris Elba, Billy Boyd, Sally Field, Lupita Nyong'o, and Timothée Chalamet. That's
because you have to have everyone. You have to have the old, you have to have the young, you have to
Mhm.
have the people that you're like, you're gonna get us to safety.
I think what we're missing here is a supporting cast member who is an established television actor. Someone who's not in who's mainly known for, like, it's like, I know that person. Where the hell have I seen them?
Give Jason Sudeikis like a beefy dramatic role.
Okay. And he's done some movies, but
like, and I don't mean he's not going to be a cocky asshole either, because he can, like, I mean, like, his family dies in his arms, maybe, like, it's heavy.
He cries,
life
no,
isn't
holding a child, screaming
life
up the heavens, no, while
life
the camera
is no
pulls
longer
back.
worth living for him, and like, people just leave me here to die, something that Grossmutter famously said, like, you know, and then you have Lupita being like,
At a
no,
theme park.
I will get you to safety, and he's like, my life is over, and then they have like the unexpected romance or something, but it's not a romance. People are just going to ship them because she's going to get him out, but then they realize, like in Speed, that like relationships based on extreme circumstances don't ever last, so they'll just have to base it on sex.
Speed, yes.
There you go.
Okay.
So yes, okay, you're right. We needed that playing against type TV guy.
Okay, that's a pretty solid guy. I'd watch that.
There you go.
Bonus points. What's the disaster?
See, I think there is a boat involved. We're on
a boat.
I want them to look like drowned rats, and I want no one looks good because you can't look good in a disaster movie. And in my opinion, the easiest way to look bad.
Good luck with Idris
wet.
Elba, Jesus.
He's gonna look. His shirt is gonna be like,
oh no,
plastered.
I'm wet. Half the audience is like, same.
Who needs Magic Mike when you have Idris on a boat?
That should be the movie, the title, Idris on a boat. Is this a disaster movie? Yes. What's the disaster? Did Idris on a boat? Did you not see? Okay.
He's gonna be glistening the whole time.
All right. So here, not to steal your thunder, but I think I have a good idea for a water-based disaster film. I mean, one word title.
Okay.
Whirlpool. I don't know if there's been a whirlpool-based disaster movie. There's probably been a whirlpool in a disaster movie.
The only whirlpool I can think of is
Pirates of the Caribbean. 2 or 3, whichever one they're circling.
At World's Edge or whatever. Yeah. Or is it the one right before it where they're circling and they leave on a cliffhanger?
It's maybe 2 or 3. I don't remember which one it is. It might be 3.
Anyways, please continue. I like that.
Whirlpool, starring Idris Elba, Billy Boyd, Sally Field, Lupita Nyong'o, Timothy Chalamet, and Jason Sudeikis. Okay. I think what's funny is I think
we're onto something.
According to my audio feedback, every time you laugh, your microphone's just clipping it out.
You know what? I have an old lady laugh, so it's really okay. Ain't no one need to hearing that.
Like, it's funny because if I clap,
I can't hear that
apparently
at
all. That gets clipped out. So your laugh is apparently not to clip that.
Like, no.
No one needs to hear that. So
which I don't disagree with. Well, cool. Now I'm gonna by this time next year, if we do MAYday again, we'll be talking about Whirlpool. Well, movies don't get made in a year, so in 25.
Yeah, that disaster movie that needs some prep.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it's gotta have like 2 years of pre-production. Yeah. Maybe we could get Mario Puzo to write it. Is he still alive? And then I'm guessing just ignore everything he wrote.
There you go.
So we're jumping straight into Earthquake. I wanted. So I watched it last night, and there were 2 things that jumped out at me as I was watching the opening credits. This was back in the days where all the credits were at the front of the movie.
Yes.
And 2 things about the film that I did not know. Number 1, co-written by Mario Puzo, who is the guy who wrote Godfather.
Right.
And I was like, all right, didn't know that. And scored by John Williams.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Didn't know that either. Would not be able to tell just listening to the soundtrack because it's lame. It's very TV movie lame. I don't know if this was like phoning it in, fine. Because I mean, he scored Poseidon Adventure and Towering Inferno, I think.
I think at least Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah.
Towering Inferno, I don't know much about that one. I will admit.
Very tall building with a fire. So it's
I could infer by the name
it's a good name, yeah.
Inferno.
Yeah. What's Volcano about? Volcano. Actually lava mostly.
I also it was interesting. So when I was right before I watched the movie last night, I looked up. I just like to kind of have the IMDb open just to be like, just make sure I have that in the background of like, oh, what am I looking at here? And one of the first things on IMDb when you open it, at least on your phone, is it tells you like notable awards or nominations, and it was like 1 Oscar win and 3 nominations. And I was like, because going into this movie, I was not expecting a big budget film. I don't know why I wasn't, because we have disaster movies now that are huge theatrical events and definitely mainstream movies, and no one would I mean, we have a movie coming out called Cocaine Bear, which I still can't like wrap my head around.
The trailer sold me. I want to see Cocaine Bear.
I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying the fact that there's a movie called Cocaine Bear out there is killing me. But no, I honestly 100% was going into this expecting Mothra vibes.
Okay.
I was just expecting, very camp,
There
very
were a
B,
lot of
very
cardboard
cheese.
buildings.
Oh, one of my favorite, and this skips everything, and I promise, listener slash viewer, that we'll talk about the movie, but later in the movie, way later in the movie, when said titular earthquake actually happens, there is a scene that they kind of pan out and show like the devastation. And in the lower right hand, I don't know my right from my left, guys. That's why I had to do this. In the lower right hand corner, so there's like fires and stuff, and then all of a sudden you see like a fire burst out in this corner, and it 100% is someone like holding a lighter.
Yeah, the fire elements are often not to scale.
No, they're not to scale, and the color matching is way off, because it is 100%. I put fire on the end of this stick and went into frame, out of frame.
Which is not to say there are a bunch of a lot of the effects don't work, but a fair amount of them really, by the standards of the mid-70s, actually work quite well.
Sure. I was struck by
Smooth criminal.
Okay. So before we get to Michael, let's discuss now. So the premise of the movie is,
can you guess?
very simple. And it's also, I don't think I'm going to give anything away, because I think you'll be able to tell in the way I talk about it. Of all of the movies that we have done for movie mandates, this is my least favorite.
Okay.
By such a big margin.
All right.
So the movie at the beginning, there's a husband and wife who hate each other. So there's that.
Charlton Heston and Ava Gardner.
And so they're set up the characters that you're supposed to be following through, and not a single one of them do I want to follow through. Not a damn one. I'm like, oh, Charles, I'm gonna have to now watch you for 2 hours because you're Charlton Heston, which I don't mind watching, but like, you're not a, I don't like you. I don't like you at all. I don't like Ava. I don't like anyone. So there's that. Anyway, so a lot of unlikable people are spread around LA. Yeah, not much different than today.
Where Charlie really lost me was his the character's hypocrisy in the back half of the movie, where he and his wife meet up in the elevator, and she's like, she accuses him of that little girl that you're cheating on me with, and he goes, well, I wasn't before, but I am now. I'm like, no, you totally were before. What the hell are you talking about? The previous scene was you boning down.
And emotional affairs are real. Like, that was your end game with this girl. So like,
and they also were already doing it. So
supposedly that was their first time.
Doesn't matter.
I agree.
Doesn't matter if your first time was today.
I agree. Because
he
once
acts
you get there
now that our entire relationship has been transactional, and every success I've had is because you made daddy promote me so that I'd be in thrall to you. So no more of that. I'm going with this girl who's at least 20 years younger than me, if not,
she is 20.
Definitely more.
Surprisingly, I did look that up, because I was,
I'm like, okay, I see what he sees in her, but
to the actress's credit,
she sells it.
She was 30 when she made this movie. She looks 19. Good on you, except the fact that it doesn't sit well, because he is very 50. And again, I don't care that she's 30 and you're 50. Whatever. It's Hollywood. That has not changed. But she didn't even look 30. So I looked it up. And once I found out she was 30, I was like, okay, I feel a little bit better because I kid you not, she looks 19.
Yeah,
like,
she's very young looking.
Very young looking. And I was at first like, oh God. Oh God. Okay, at least you're 30.
But I know the character is supposed to be
Yes.
late 20s at the youngest
Because she has like an 8-year-old,
she has an
9-year-old boy.
8-year-old kid, and she's also apparently a former
widow.
actor. You know, a widow, you know, she's
so yeah,
a former actor who's like getting back into the game now that her
right.
son's old enough to, you know, watch himself for an afternoon while she goes out on a job
Right.
reading sides and stuff. So yeah, Ava Gardner is just a horrible, mean alcoholic who fakes overdosing for attention.
And she has apparently overdosed before, and this one just happens to be and they've all been attention seeking, and this one was just more egregious because apparently she just flushed the pills down the toilet and didn't even take them.
Yeah.
But
and then Charlton Heston is well, I mean, I understand why the marriage is not working for him. And it's not the matter that he's moving on. It's that he's lying even to himself about what he's actually doing that I just find really gross.
Because so within the movie, he gets this widow lady. He invites her to a summer in Oregon, her and her son, where he is going to be doing, business, and he's going to have a rental property or whatever out there because he's going to be there for a few months for his job. It's what he does. Ex-football player turns engineer, I think is a brilliant
that's a path. That's a neat
it's a neat little path there. And so I'm like,
architectural engineer.
Yes, but yes, thank you. So but very highly successful architectural engineer. And the thing that I find interesting,
because his father-in-law owns the company.
True. But like he actively is planning a prolonged affair. Like you will come. Before
he tells us like, well, I am now. No, you were already doing that.
This was
dude.
Unbelievably and then he almost, all of this turns moot in the end because there's an earthquake, but he almost gives up being president of the company because if he's president, he won't be going to Oregon because a president doesn't need to be on like doing manual labor. And he's like, oh, well, that means that I can't.
But my sexy times.
Yeah, but like, I have a side piece who's expecting to have a summer with me. Like, how can I root for you, sir? I mean, he is heroic.
He is heroic, yeah. He's Charlton Heston.
I was very upset. So George Kennedy begins. So now we've met player A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
So those are those characters.
Those are those characters. And then George Kennedy is on a high-speed chase like this, which I've always enjoyed about 70s film, is that you're in a car and you can see through the window just, everything going by just fine. And yet the wheels, power steering is a thing. I mean, that wheel is really loose because you used to have to like turn it 14 times to make to make it turn.
No power steering, I guess.
So no power steering.
I think power steering was around the 70s, but who knows?
So obviously this one doesn't. So
I wasn't.
So he's doing this high-speed chase and he's knocking over left and right. Not a very casual high-speed chase, and people are like, you're ruining things and blah blah blah. And he gets to the perp and he runs into a hedge of Zsa Zsa Gabor's home, and he gets yelled at and suspended. Right, he's suspended from the force for
at least put on leave.
Yeah, and
they tell him to go home.
He has what I think is the most brilliant couple lines in the whole movie, where he says to the police chief, he's like, this guy, and he says that the perp stole something, got into a car, hit a child in with that car, killed said
splattered
child,
her all over the sidewalk.
like goes into detail about
he
like
paints a picture for you. Yeah,
indeed he does. And he goes, and you're worried about some goddamn hedges? And I thought to myself,
well, no, not really the hedges specifically,
but like the fact that they truly were on him. Like, I mean, he splattered a child, and I was like, he splattered a child? I did not realize this in the
but
high-speed
you
pursuit.
also almost splattered a woman with a baby stroller.
Baby,
So
yeah.
I mean, you didn't, so
You
that's
didn't,
good,
but like, holy crap,
you
like
did
it
hit a
was
bunch of parked cars and
you
such.
caused
So
so much damage. I know
yeah,
that.
I mean, I'm not really worried as much about the damage, but you're endangering the lives of even more people by chasing this guy the way you're chasing him. So,
And
I mean,
I was like, that would have
if
been such a powerful speech if you also hadn't just shown us how terrible
reckless
you are.
disregard for pedestrian safety.
So there's George and George's buddy. So then
Who
George
then
goes
goes
to a
to the bar
bar
yeah.
and starts drinking. And here's the best part. His buddy comes to the bar. And they're both in full uniform. And then there's people playing pool in the bar. And they get into a fight, as folks at 10 a.m. drinking in a bar playing pool tend to do.
Yep.
And they being George and his friend, are having this whole conversation in the bar in front of these people behind them, having a whole fight, like very intense fight over there. And then the friend, who's still a cop, gets up, and it's only when he stands up that the little hooligans in the corner, they stop choking each other to kind of go, hey, officer. And the officer goes,
oh,
like,
you.
Oh, you silly hooligans.
Boys
And then he
will
walks
be
out,
boys.
and then he walks out, and they're like, yeah. And I'm like,
you are actually on duty, sir. Why?
I'm like, dude.
Also, did you two not notice the two cops in the bar right next to you at any point prior to this?
So before I go on, I have a query for you, and here it is. How long? How in not how long is the movie, as in 2 hours? What is the time span of the movie, in your opinion?
1 day.
As a hell of a day. A lot of people get a lot done before 10 a.m. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. That's my.
I think when it's switching scenes, it's also kind of rewinding time. So all of these things are supposed to be happening simultaneously.
It is, and I agree with you. It is so poorly done, in my opinion.
Especially
that it's the same time. They really could have done more with clocks or something. They could have done better with, like, fading meanwhile back at the ranch. I don't know how, but like you're an hour into the movie and it's still like 10 a.m. And I'm like, I don't understand. And here's the reason why I ask if you think it was a day, because I think it was a day too. And here's yet again another reason why I just don't like it. And I know
what you're going to say.
At the beginning of the movie, this seismologist guy says,
let's set this up and then ignore it.
Right. But also casual AF walks into his boss's office, sits down, and he's like, so that tremor we had this morning, if my calculations are right, we're going to have a tremor this afternoon that's bigger. And then in 48 hours, is going to be a catastrophic event. Now, all of my calculations could possibly be moot if this afternoon earthquake does not occur. So if we don't get one more this afternoon that is a little bit higher than a 3, then my calculations are fine. But if we get another one, we're going to need to figure out WTF to do, right? And so I'm like, okay. So then in the movie, the middle one happens.
We've got stakes. We've got a ticking clock. Okay.
Yep. I'm like, okay. And I was, even though the characters weren't appealing to me yet at all, in this movie, I was like, okay, you said it for us. I understand what's going to happen, and there's going to be like, this is going to be good. There's going to be some area. There's going to be people like on the one we watched for you, Worlds Collide, like they're not going to make a broad announcement because there is no time, and the mass panic would cause probably just as much death, if not more, than what was going to happen. So like, that whole political, who's going to get to evacuate, like, because they tell the mayor and the seismologists know and all this, and yet so the afternoon earthquake happens and you're just like, oh boy, you have 48 hours. No,
the rest of the movie is just
the rest of the movie
too late that night.
Yeah, to late that in it.
So I guess we can expect that
he was wrong.
36 hours after this movie happens, everyone dies in a 9.0.
Everyone else died. Because that was what happened. Because that afternoon quake happened and it was this little and I was like, oh, was that it? I thought it was going to be something bigger. And then very quickly, the big earthquake comes. The really big one comes. And I'm thinking, and it shows people unprepared and things falling from the sky left and right. Like, I love that people are in the middle of the street and things are falling on them.
So many styrofoam blocks falling from the sky.
So much is falling from the sky. And I understand that if there's an earthquake, things above you are going to fall. But like, if you're in the middle of the street, like, there's a lot of things that are just everything.
Yeah, unless the building debris tilted and started dumping stuff out to throw it.
It's like there were some heavy winds bringing styrofoam to the middle of the street.
The main earthquake, the disaster movie, like many disaster movies, probably easier with earthquakes because there are tremors and aftershocks to keep because when you have a movie that's, oh no, an asteroid is going to collide with the Earth, it's like, well, you can't have that happen at the 10 or 20-minute mark. That's
right. That's true.
They get away with that in Deep Impact and Armageddon with precursor chunks, so we can have some early disaster. But if you have a movie about a tsunami or an avalanche, you really only get one.
Yeah.
Or if you hit an iceberg, I mean, it's like, do you do the it happened one night approach and you hit the iceberg at the 30-minute mark and the rest of the movie is dealing with the fallout of hitting the iceberg? Or do you go the James Cameron Titanic approach and do a movie for 2 hours and then hit an iceberg?
Right. Right.
And earthquake does the, we've got a tremor. Oh, we've got another tremor. Oh, here's the big one. Oh, aftershock. Now you can do it throughout the movie. Anytime you need to. It's like a slasher movie where the random couple that you don't know. It's just, oh, hey, look, two people boning. Oh, they got killed in a fun way. Yay. Right. That tides us over for the next 50 minutes.
Timothy Chalamet of Whirlpool. It's all these other people. No, but
and I have to say, let me say a few good things about the film.
Yes, please go. And I will go. I agree.
After the first shake,
yes,
there's a dam, and there are two dam inspectors.
It's the Hollywood Reservoir, right? Is what they have decided. I didn't know Hollywood had a reservoir. It's what it's standing in as. I was like, I didn't think that's what it looked like, but
I don't know that there's a big dam up the hill from Hollywood Boulevard.
I don't think so either.
But
I haven't been to Hollywood for a while.
Yeah. Anyway, there's so I don't know what dam that actually is, but they did actually film at a dam, which is funny because they built sets that they could shake the shit out of, but you can't shake the shit out of a dam, so they just shook the camera and the people are doing the Star Trek thing.
Oh yeah.
It's lovely.
So good.
Or they're like, oh no, there's a leak in the dam, and they just extreme close up of one block of concrete with water pouring out. It's like, oh, okay, it's fine. It's
so good.
Anyway, so they're like, well, shoot, we were going to go home in half an hour, but them's regulations. When there's a tremor, we got to go inspect the dam. And so it cuts somewhere else and does something with some of the other characters and cuts back, and you have, Fred walking. He's like, George, where'd you go, George? And so he goes into the service building where the elevator takes you down into the bowels of the dam, and he hits the elevator button, and it's just waiting for the elevator to come up, and the elevator door opens, and just water comes rushing out of the elevator along with the other guy's body. I'm like, dude, that's a good opening. That was really cool. I didn't see that coming, and it's shocking, and it's great.
However, did you see that the actor raised his head before they cut? He raised his head to breathe.
The dead guy. Well, I mean, he was getting water up his nose,
Right, but
you know?
they didn't cut it. And like he goes,
They
like
yeah
it's like
they could have cut that a little bit earlier or panned up, but yeah.
it was like
The editing in this movie is actually both the editing and the music editing is really garbage.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. The film editing is
Did you have? I don't know if it's the version of the movie hosted on Amazon Prime, but did you have trouble with like the sound kind of muffling in a few cases, like the scene where Charlton Heston's side piece is, they're reading the script to her, Quake or whatever they're doing their scene. She's like, "Hi, I'm the person talking in the."
oh no,
Like,
I didn't have
okay,
anything like
maybe
that.
maybe it's just me. So
Sorry about that.
so I like the scene.
No,
Conceptually, I really like that with because you don't expect a bunch of water and a body to come out of an elevator when the doors
yeah,
open.
no, it was good. I liked that moment.
I really liked the scene between the seismologist and his boss, and I think the mayor or whoever it was, when they were having an adult, non-histrionic,
Right.
sober conversation
Yes.
about what do we do. It's like, okay, we could tell everyone, but aside from creating a panic, if we're wrong and we
Where are they
develop
gonna
this
go?
technology to make it absolutely accurate in 5 years, no one's going to listen to us. And
Yep.
fair point. And what they land on, so there's a little bit of the, no, we need to keep the beaches open because this is a tourist town, you know? What they land on is, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to mobilize the National Guard. We're going to get equipment in here. We're going to set up some places where people can go in case this happens. We're not going to do a mass evacuation because
Right.
where are we going to put people? Out in the desert?
And that's
If this happens, how are we going to feed them? You know, there's
which I found very funny because the difference between that conversation in 74 and how it would be now, because that's exactly, I mean, you and I grew up in the 80s driving, not us driving, but back and forth from California to Arizona.
Mhm.
There's nothing there. There
Yes.
was nothing there.
Well,
so in
yeah.
the 70s, there was even less there. Now it's like, evacuation.
There's like homes from Cabazon all the way into LA now.
Exactly. It's like, you have to open up your homes to everyone. And like everyone is, we have dispersed throughout the nation, our families and whatnot.
Mhm.
So it's a completely different, but like when he said that, he's like, what are we going to send them to the desert?
Yeah, outside of LA, it was just desert.
I was like, that is so true. There's nowhere for them. There's no hotels there. You can't even like find a, Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
So yes.
It
was a
other
good
than
conversation.
the fun of the disaster, it's the various disaster sequences. That was probably my favorite scene of the movie.
It was a good scene.
And a lot of the disaster scenes are actually pretty well done. The bit where the people are running down the stairs of the 25-story office building, and it's a massive like 20 people all powering down the stairs, but the people in the front are, oh shit, this side of the building is gone and the stairs just drop off into the street, but the people in the back don't know that and they just push forward and the first couple of people get pushed out of the building.
Right. And there's a lot of, like, to its credit, there's a lot of death.
A lot of people die, and there's a lot
of fun
this would
blood,
probably be a PG-13 today.
Very bright red blood.
It's very 70s. It's that day glow orange blood that you saw in like Romero's Dawn of the Dead. It's that kind of goopy paint blood, except for the elevator crash, which has a splatter of bright red animated blood for some reason. I'm like, why did you even do that?
What? First off, what
were you trying to cut? Was there accidentally? Was that shot like the camera is like on the floor looking up and the people are all jostling all over and it just does this weirdly cartoony animated blood splat? Like, was the camera accidentally looking up someone's skirt who wasn't wearing underwear and you had to put something there, and
I don't know
what they were thinking.
But in that scene, when so the earthquake is happening and people are trying to get to a safe location, like a door jam or under a desk or something, and a good amount of people are like, we're going to find safe haven in this elevator. And I remember watching, and I'm like, that is the worst place for you to possibly go. And they're like, oh, good, we're here in the elevator. And I'm like, do you know what an elevator is?
I mean,
it is an open goddamn shaft, guys.
Yeah, but I mean, they're panicking. You make really bad. They're that's just flight. That's got to get out. The elevator is how I get in and out. So I'm going to the elevator. So I get that. That would happen.
So there's a good amount of death, a good amount of stupidity. There's a lot of so that scene that you were discussing when the folks are running down the stairway. And then there's the crowd crush moments, and they fall out the front.
And one guy ends up holding onto a window
and
pane.
His hands are bleeding.
Hands are cut on the glass.
It's tough. But they stood the scene goes on, and they show what happens elsewhere, and they go over here, and they're doing all of the stuff. And those people, I mean, I guess, where else are you gonna go? But they're all just standing there at the end, right next to the end of a building that is going down to sudden death.
Yeah, if there's no traffic, try and get out into the middle of the street, I would think. But I was like, again, you panic.
I'm like, what?
I mean, a lot of that panic might be
there. Yeah. I wouldn't want to stand there and just look. I mean, I don't know. It's just, there was a lot of, what are we going to do? There was a moment, one of the areas they were trying to evacuate, and I did think that this was a very interesting moment, just I think from my point of view as a spectator in the future, that helicopters are running around, and they're trying to do a preemptive evacuation of just not one small area, but like an area. They're like, this
most area, of the movie seems to take place on like Hollywood Boulevard, or at least one street in Hollywood.
So they're very much like, this area needs to be, it's a preemptive evacuation. We're not expecting anything to happen, is what they're saying, even though like and then there's people that are like, it's fine, we're going to stay here. And I thought to myself, that's exactly why people don't leave, is because it was because, I mean, since all the disasters that have happened in our lifetime, like the real ones that have actually happened, and the folks who stay behind, like I know when Katrina happened, and then they're like, okay, all the folks, they went into the big arena and stuff, and I'm just like, why the hell did anyone stay? Like, why were they staying? And it's because of misinformation and like they think things are done, and I was like, it brought to the now, Kelly, I was like, oh, this is why people choose, is because at one moment they're being told, it's over, and another moment they're like, we're evacuating, but it nothing will happen. We're just trying to get, and so if you're told it's not going to be bad, but if you want to leave, you should, like, it's like, well, then I don't want to. Thank you. Have a good day, sir. Like, so it was just a weird thing internally for me to be like, oh, maybe that's why people stay behind. And
here's the safe thing that you could do that would save your life and others, but you don't have to. Oh, well, I guess it's not really that big a deal then.
Exactly. And so for me, I was like, oh, I should stop, judging people so harshly. Sorry.
So, Charlton Heston's character is, set up as a architectural engineer, yes, which pays off towards the end of the movie when people get trapped in the basement car park of a building that collapsed, and he's like, I built this building, or was part of the design, so if we go into the sewer on this side, there's only like two concrete walls and about 5 feet of dirt that you have to dig through to get into there. And if there are people trapped down there, we could easily get through there in like an hour of jackhammering.
Right.
So that comes back.
Correct.
Now let's talk about Richard Roundtree's character, who is set up as a stunt dude, like Evel Knievel.
Yes.
So, all right, he's a stunt dude who does stunts on a bike, and he's set up this obstacle course with a loop-de-loop, and goddamn, we will get to that in a moment, and a figure eight and jumping through fire and stuff. And the earthquake starts, So now that we've established that we've got a daredevil who can ride his bike like no other, loop-de-loops and figure eights and jumping through fire, what do you think that's setting up for this movie?
He's gonna save people because he's gonna be able to like jump over the crater
Rubble and fire and
everything
explosions.
that
He'll be able to navigate his bike like a
it's going
superhero
to be
right.
a hell of a scene when it
Yes.
happens.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the sequel that they never made, because he just kind of drops out of the movie.
He
has one scene towards the end where he's driving his bike and he goes, "Oh, look,
water."
I think it's the flash flood section in Universal Studios, and there's a car being pushed by water. Oh no! And that's the last we see of him. It
and I was
never
like,
comes up. He has no arc.
I know he had, but the best part about
his buddy do save. I apologize for referring to her as Charlton Heston's side piece, but I don't remember her name or the actor's name. He and his buddy do save her and her son from the canal.
What was her name? Because they just call her like Brian's widow the whole time. The widow like
Rosa. Rosa is the sister who.
Rosa is Victoria Principal.
Yes, a TV actor, I think.
Dallas.
Yes. So yes, opera,
TV, yeah. But yes, she was like huge. She went on to become someone very important.
Yep. And what was my point? Oh, they save the side piece lady and her son and they use the truck to transport people who are hurt. But the fact that he's a stunt dude with a bike never comes up. It doesn't pay off. It's never used.
No, and the only thing that I can say about him, and I hope, are you going to talk about when he does his trial run?
Yes.
Okay, go.
So he's got his what he wants to do is he wants to be the next Evel Knievel. So he's got a guy from Vegas coming down to watch him do his loop-de-loop figure eight thing and then jumping over a spike pit and through a ring of fire that spits the fire into the ring, right? So he's like, okay, I have to practice this before the guy gets here to make sure I'm feeling the vibes and stuff. So he's like, okay, I'm up on the ramp. Here we go. And he goes down the ramp, loop-de-loop, land right on my head. And I was like, holy shit, they killed a stunt person. And I rewound it. I'm like, okay, was I not paying attention? Did they somehow use like a doll on a miniature set? Or did they somehow rig a dummy to a motorcycle so that it would just fall over? And I watched it again and went, oh no, dude, that is live. That is a dude who fell. That was not intended. You can't just, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive this motorcycle upside down and then fall and land on my head. I stopped the movie and I went to the IMDb trivia section. I'm like, that's got to be, oh God, he's alive. Okay. Yeah, that was not planned.
So taken aback. Like at first you're like, that's funny because he's touting himself this whole time and
he just sucks at this.
Full on sucks. But there's part of me that I'm like, oh, that's a twist that we didn't see coming. But I'm like,
because it's this long obstacle course that starts with a loop and then does the figure eight thing and then over the spike pick thing, and he's like immediately failed. I'm like, okay, that's funny. I'm like, wait a minute, that was actually a stunt dude who just fell and landed on his head. He's dead now.
And I thought, I honestly, I was like, did they just kill that character? And because I honestly was like, well, there goes that they just killed that character. Yeah. You don't survive that. I was freaked out on so many levels. I was like. And then they did it again, and I kid you not, it's the same footage cut
from a different angle. Yeah,
because he didn't make it, and then they cut and they show him coming back down.
They show from a different angle him going up half, and it looks like he's going to go straight off the top. I'm like, Jesus, did he fall again? But then it cuts.
I swear it's the same footage,
and then it's edited like a Taken or a Bourne Identity movie. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, so after the first accident, they were not going to do.
They weren't going to do it again,
and they did it again. They did it in pieces because we lucked out with this guy not dying.
I was distraught for a second. Yeah. I'm happy to hear that you looked into it because I think I just sat there and I was like, I don't understand what I just saw, but I would have thought that. But I also believe
the stunt guy, white dude in blackface. Did they did they not hire black stunt people in the 70s? They probably didn't. It's like we've just barely started hiring female stunt people.
I thought you were gonna say they actually did just hire Evil Knievel. Oh, but no, actually,
Evil's like, I would have made that loop.
I would have made that's true. No, well, except like it was really poorly put together. Like
the completed circuit,
ramp,
it was really really bad.
But it was very funny because later after the he makes it through, and then there's another tremor that knocks over his whole thing, and Richard Roundtree says, I hope Evel Knievel was in LA today. I was like, Jesus.
Dude, yeah. And yeah, what amazes me is they set this whole thing up and it does not. I have to imagine that this paid off somehow in Mario Puzo's original treatment, and it was just too sprawling. And so they're like, all right, no, Mario, dude, it takes place on one street in Hollywood, not all of LA. And you've got all these disparate characters. We don't have time for 15 different arcs. You got to pick 2, you know. So although, I don't know what the progression of that script was, but yeah, it's
there was a William Cat wannabe in the movie.
And
I am super again just jarring. Everybody is just so jarring in this movie. He starts the movie being a little creepy towards Victoria Principal because he thinks she's pretty, but you're like, maybe he's just a nerd and he's harmless, and he's just like, here, you can have this for free because he's at a grocery. But then later at that same grocery, there's some Hare Krishnas outside singing, and he brings over I was about to call him George Bailey. Not It's a Wonderful Life. Nope. He brings over Mr. Kennedy, and he's like, can you get these people off of my
freaks off the
street? They're disturbing my customers or whatever. And he goes, you got a problem with religion? And I was like, good on you, 70s. Good on you. And so in my head, I was like, this guy is an arse. Like he's definitely an arse, right? And then he joins the Guard because the Guard
he's in the
National Guard, so he gets called to duty and wears a hairnet apparently because he slicks his hair back, but I never see the hairnet. And then later he's like, oh, a lot of people wear it. And then when he dies, the hairnet comes off and he's back to his big old curls. And I'm like, I'm very confused by your character, sir. But that's okay.
I'm not sure how his hair works, but
yeah, I don't know how your hair works. And so then he's getting ridiculed by people. Like people are constantly like yelling at him and teasing him and this.
Either roommates or people who live in the same tenant that he does.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, this is really strange.
So they bully him for being gay. You know, they call him homophobic slurs. It's hardo, homophobic slurs. And this pays off later when they find him on the street, you know, in his National Guard, and now he's got a machine gun. And he's like, he made fun of me, and you guys are looting, and because they have a bag full of a bunch of pearl necklaces and stuff that they obviously just looted out of a jewelry store. And he's like, it's like, we need to arrest it. No, these boys ain't looting. They just like dressing up in women's clothing, you know, turning that homophobia back around on them. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, but maybe we should shoot them. And they're like, oh no, we should run. He's like, oh guys, I'm just kidding. It's funny when people joke like that. And they're like, okay, yeah, okay, we've learned our lesson. And then he shoots them dead.
And then he mows them down.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so.
And then he tries to rape Victoria Principal. And then he tries to
rape Rosa and Victoria Principal.
He saves her. So you're just like,
so that he can rape her.
But I'm like, you're very confusing.
I gave you a sandwich. You owe me sex now. I do not compute. So,
and if another woman got taken by the arms and shook, I was going to like take a baseball bat to every thing in my home.
It's like that. I love that. That's why that scene in Airplane is so damn funny when the woman in the plane's panicking and the people like, snap out, slap, and there are people lining up to slap her, and it's further back you get lined a person with a baseball bat.
But it's
That's
true.
Why it's so funny. Yep.
Everything. Where did he go? Tell women to women, men to women. Like, it's tell me. I don't know. I don't know. And then they just sit there and cry because they don't know anything. And then they're gonna get whiplash. And like they're like, I'm just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like,
so the interesting thing to unpack about the National Guard character is he has in his room a bunch of oh God, what is his name? Bodybuilder from the 70s, not Schwarzenegger, but the guy that preceded him, and I can't remember his name. But he's got, big posy,
it's not Lou. It's
not Lou Ferrigno. It's
someone
I know
else.
the name when I heard it, but he's got pictures of bodybuilders on his wall, and could be for the aesthetic attractiveness, or it could be motivational because he's a wannabe army dude. So
I took it that way because he also has like a woman somewhere else,
right? But the muscly dudes on his wall is what the his bullies use to torment him in
Correct.
a homophobic way. So when he opens his closet and he's putting on his army duds or his National Guard duds, he's got a picture of a naked lady on the inside of his locker. Now, there are two different ways to read this, and I find it really interesting. Did the filmmakers decide to put that there to assure the audience that it's okay, he's not really gay? No homo here, right? Or did they put that there so they didn't perpetuate a negative stigma on gay people that they are violent, rapey psychopaths? They're like, oh man, if we portray this guy as potentially gay, that looks really bad on the LGBT community. So let's put the naked girly calendar in his locker so that it's like, no, he's just motivational poster thingies. He's into girls. He's a straight dude. He's just a psychopath. We're not saying that gay people are violent, dangerous asswipes.
Yeah, gay or straight, this guy's trouble.
Yeah.
But
I would like to think the latter, but the 70s, nah, probably not.
I don't know. Like, but it was just very strange that everyone had, because while it is true, we are all complex humans and we all make stupid decisions daily. I try to save my stupid decisions for like once every other day, but but like we all make stupid decisions, but there are certain things that, like, have I yelled at the kids? Yep. Do I feel bad because I'm like, that's not actually the way that I want to get this lesson across? Yeah. Not a great teaching moment. Doesn't look good on me. Doesn't really, help anything, but it doesn't make my character like who. There are certain things that you can do that are stupid, or you can do that are going to make me go, oh, I don't like you that much because you're just kind of, but like there are core, you don't just mow down people with shotguns who called you a slur, or not a shotgun, a machine gun.
Yeah.
That is a character. That is a deep-seated homicidal man. Like that, and so for me, it's like, are you where, like, I was never sure where the movie was trying to go with any character. Did you want us to like people and you wanted them to be like, oh, we're just all human and we have flaws? Or were you trying to redeem people? Were you trying to make a state? Like, I couldn't tell if I was ever supposed to be rooting for anyone other than possibly Rosa, because she did literally nothing wrong, because she even couldn't afford the ham and she was like, oh, I guess I'll put that back. And then he was like, no, or whatever, turkey, chicken, beef, whatever meat it was that she was going to put back. And he was like, oh, no. Like, other than us objectifying her breasts, she didn't do
which are lovely, but
which are lovely.
Damn, man. I mean, I know you don't have the internet yet, but surely you've got magazines.
Have you never seen
these before?
Maybe just not so close. Like, I was very disturbed by that moment. I was like, oh, which is another thing. But I'm like, I just expected more. And maybe this is someone in 23 looking at a movie made in 1974 that I'm just like, shaking women. But like, I gotta believe that even at the time, someone was like, really? There's gonna be a full 10-second moment when George is just staring directly at my nips and like that just lingered. Like that's a choice.
Do you have to let it linger?
Like it's just an interesting choice.
But
so yeah, the movie was just so exhaustingly confusing.
Yes, I will end on this though. George is the best character.
George is best character.
And that is typified by the fact that Rosa, what's her name? Victoria Principal. He saves her and she's panicking. Ah! And instead of grabbing her by the shoulders and shaking her back and forth and yelling at her and slapping her, he gives her a puppy. Yes, that is what you do when I freak the heck out. You don't shake me back and forth and slap me. You give me a puppy. That makes everything better.
Although the minute the puppy came in, I'm like, I was this close to pausing the movie and going to, does the puppy die?
No, and the puppy, and
puppy lives.
It's not like the puppy disappears. She's got the puppy for the rest of the movie.
Yes, she has the puppy. It lives. It's fine. It has a very Chinatown ending. This used to be a great city. Pan out. And I was like, oh, that's the end. Charlton Heston biffs it. Good for him.
Yeah, both he and Ava Gardner are
drowned.
They're presumably dead. Maybe they survived in the sequel that was never produced.
Correct. So
Earthquake.
And just wrap up. Did you like it though?
I thought it was okay. I mean, to me, it was kind of on the same level as When Worlds Collide. It's not good, but I didn't find it off-putting. I found it an easy sit. There was a lot I liked about it. The disaster stuff was a lot of fun, even if some of the effects
which was nice. I'm like, good. Just keep breaking shit.
It's a great scene. I think it lasts for like 8 or 9 minutes. There's lots of smaller sequences throughout the rest of the film that, like, how they deal with getting people off of that broken stairwell. Great scene. Pretty good scene where they're rescuing what's-her-face and her son from the
because there's electric lines
there's electric lines down and there's water coming down the reservoir. Pretty good scene. A lot of the disaster moments are well conceived and often pretty well executed. A lot of the matte painting work is pretty good.
Until you put the fire in front of it, I was sold.
Although the fire elements are often not to scale, so
but the rest was pretty good. Yeah.
So there was a lot I enjoyed about it, but no, it's not a good movie. It kind of fails in a lot of the important ways, from character arc completion to technical stuff like editing and sound editing. It's just not a particularly well put together film. But it actually almost feels like this was reassembled from a television edit or something like that. That's
it was strange. There were some. I was like, why did they not edit this? Like, there were some definite things that I was like, whew, they lingered too long.
Yeah, so definitely not my least favorite of everything we've watched in Movie Mandate so far, but nothing I'd ever revisit.
All right. Okay. Well, brother, that is the end of our month of Mayday. Yay! But Movie Mandates shall continue with June, which is Pride Month.
It's because it is Pride Month.
Because it is Pride Month.
All right. I have seen every Wachowski movie, Bound, all the Matrix movies, V for Vendetta, Speed Racer, Cloud Atlas.
I never saw Speed Racer.
But we're going to watch the one movie from the Wachowski oeuvre that I have not yet seen, Jupiter Ascending.
That's a long one. Very excited.
Is it long? Well, I mean, I would imagine it's probably over 2 hours. Their movies usually are.
I was gonna say it's a Rakowski sibling movie, so and it is both of them that because I know that
so.
they have since, not always, but I know that
Well, Matrix 4 was just Lana.
Yeah, because what is her name? Lana
Lily.
and Lily, thank you. I was about to say Elena, and I'm like, that's not it. Lily was doing a show for Habo.
Wait, Sense 8? No, that was the older one that they both did, right?
Yeah, no, but there's an actual show.
I've not seen the television stuff.
Yeah, it's just there's a new-ish show that she's doing. Anyways, I haven't seen hers either, but I'm very excited. Jupiter Ascending. I have not seen it. I am looking forward to this. In fact, it was one that isn't what's his face that I like in it? Beautiful, beautiful man.
Channing Tatum.
No, he's hunky.
Okay.
What the hell?
Is Timothy Chalamet in it?
No, but he has a Chalamet look. The dude who
Eddie Redmayne,
Danish.
right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
The minute I said a Chalamet look. Okay, so anyways,
wrong one.
We're not going to start talking about this until next month. So if you'd like to, it is Eddie Redmayne. Yes, if you'd like to watch Jupiter Ascending 2, check out in the description to see where it is currently streaming or available to rent. And until then, you can watch Movie Mandates on YouTube. You can listen to us in podcast form on iTunes. And if you like what you see or what you hear, do all of the liking and the starring and the hearting and the sharing and the thumbs upping and the reviewing and all of this stuff so that other people can meet us too. Because we're pretty,
We're pretty.
Pretty. There it is. End of sentence. Because we're pretty. And you can follow me on Twitter at GetEisengard.
Follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen.
And we hope you enjoyed today's episode of Movie Mandates, and we'll be back soon with another mandated movie. Bye.
Bye.